Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the MFFL Nation Show. I'm your host, Mason, and man, Dallas Mavericks basketball is officially back. We just wrapped up our first preseason game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Actually had that game in Fort Worth, Texas, so that was really cool. And the Mavs got the win 106-89. Just some player stats that I want to break down and dive into real quick. Obviously, we're going to start out with the stud of the first half, Cooper Flagg, 3 for 6 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, 2 for 2 from the free throw line. We're looking at 10 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, a +8 in the plus minus. And it wasn't the scoring that really stood out to me. It was just, and I spoke about this on last episode with Mavs Digest. He does everything perfectly. His IQ for the game is superb. You know, he's able to read a backdoor cut. He's able to read how to get the defensive rebound. He just does it all for this Mavericks team. And I was just really, really impressed because, you know, you hope for typically these first overall picks that they come out the gate and you just want them to score. And that wasn't the case for Cooper. He was just making the right play after right play. And when he needed to get his shots up, he was getting them up and at an efficient rate. I thought from a scoring standpoint, he did very well. The attacking the basket with the up and under over Jalen Williams was awesome. Hitting that 3 off the dribble was very nice for Mavs fans to see multiple times. And I think that two-man game he's going to have with D'Lo and AD also is going to be very, very nice for fans to see. It's going to be very entertaining. But overall, just really impressed with Coop. I think he fits into this new Mavericks, and we'll dive into it more, but he fits into this new Mavericks offensive system where the Mavs are just constantly moving the ball. They're playing very fast-paced basketball. You know, one thing that they emphasized was whoever gets the rebound, take the ball up. I mean, outside we're centers, but, you know, we saw Coop take the ball up. We saw AD take the ball up. Max, Clay, D'Lo, everyone was taking the ball up. So I think when you run this fast-paced system, it's going to be a great click for Coop. And the future's bright with it. You know, Jay Triano, new Mavericks assistant, is the one who brought in this flow offense. So the Mavs, I didn't see it a lot tonight, but they will be playing a lot through the bigs. You know, we saw a lot of high IQ passes from Dereck Lively, and that's something that stood out to me. I think overall, the Mavs are going to be moving the ball a lot. We saw a lot of backdoor cuts tonight. D'Lo got Max Christie on a few. Dereck Lively hit, I believe it was Christie on a few as well. And man, it's just great to see. You know, you look at Dereck Lively and you look at Anthony Davis. Both of those guys played great tonight. For Anthony Davis, 7 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 blocks, +4 in the plus minus column, 3 for 5 from the field. And you look at D Live, 4 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, +17, 2 for 4 from the field. And the numbers obviously aren't going to show much. I mean, these guys only played in the first half. And I believe it was Harp or Skin who brought it up on the broadcast, but there's not going to be, you know, this Mavericks team isn't going to be a team where it's just 2 guys that are individually very stat heavy. There's so much depth on this team that, you know, there's going to be some nights the Mavs play great basketball and the leading scorer had 18 points just because of how stacked this roster is. And I love it, honestly. I think that team basketball is very important. There are going to be nights where AD needs to go for 30 or Kyrie needs to go for 30 or Coop drops 25 or something like that, or D'Lo even. But I think this Mavericks team is going to have a lot of games where it's very set in the middle of a lot of guys having those 22 to 15 points in a game. And so I thought from the big standpoint, a shout out to Dwight Powell as well. I'm not even trying to troll here. Dwight played phenomenal, 3 for 3 from the field, 7 points, 7 rebounds, +10. Did get hit in the face, shocker for some, not me. He's on some crazy streak with that. It's insane. But shout out to DP, he played great. I thought Musa Cisse, also another Mavericks big, played great tonight. And then just keep going down the column with these Mavericks players. I thought, you know, Max Christie and PJ were my biggest bench standouts. I thought what PJ was able to bring off the bench for the Mavericks, and again, they were going up against the Thunder C unit, but I thought PJ Washington did a really good job of initiating the offense for the Dallas Mavericks when they had bench players in the game. I thought PJ is someone who you can bring into the game off the bench, and he changed the whole flow of it. I think that's what he's going to do throughout the season. I think that this is someone that if the Mavericks are having an off night in the starting lineup, you throw PJ in there and he can flip the switch for them. So I think it's really intriguing having him come off the bench. I think he's obviously a 6th man of the year candidate, and it's going to be very fun to see how he ends up doing throughout the whole season off the bench. You know, he finished the game with 14 points, 4 for 9 from the field, 6 for 7 from the free throw line. The Mavs were free throw merchants tonight, but they shot 27 for 30 from the free throw line at a 90% rate. So I love it. You know, PJ was a plus 18. And then again, Max Christie was my other bench standout. Just looked so much more calm on the floor than he did last season when he got traded to Dallas. Even when he had that 7 to 8 game stretch where he was just going off, he was, you know, people were saying baby SGA. He was looking rushed. Yes, he was hitting shots, but he was looking rushed. And tonight, I thought we saw a really calm Max Christie, making the right plays, making the right cuts, and just trusting his game. His handle looked really tight. The defense has always been there. So, again, I'm really impressed with Max. He finished the game with 12 points, 3 for 6 from the field, 6 for 6 from the free throw line, 3 assists, 2 rebounds, plus 18 in the plus-minus column. So it was great to see that for Max. And I would say the only frustrating thing, there was 2 frustrating things I saw from tonight's game. I mean, Jaden Hardy's still Jaden Hardy, and that sucks. You know, you always try to have this like small tad of hope that players can improve, but it's preseason. But I'm also just I've given up on Hardy. I love him as a person, great guy, but it's just I hope he thrives for a different team. But the other thing that I was upset about is that we weren't able to see B. Will, Dante, or Dennis Smith Jr. Those are like 3 guys right there that could be battling it out for the last roster spot. And I'm not sure why. I mean, Dante didn't participate in any of training camp. I know B. Will got hurt with the hamstring strain. They said it was only going to be a week, so I assume he'll play some of preseason, hopefully. The DSJ sitting out, I have no idea what happened there. Again, it's only 1 game for preseason, but you know these guys are battling out for a roster spot. You expect them to play. And then also Caleb Martin, he was a participant in all of training camp. He wasn't on the injury report before the game, so not sure exactly why Caleb Martin didn't play tonight, but I'm a Caleb Martin believer. So I hope he proves himself in the preseason because he'll have to. I think, you know, you look at this Mavs team, even a guy like Najee tonight, he had 2 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He was 0 for 3 from the field, but he found ways to make an impact. He was a plus 16. He just makes the right plays. So, I mean, I think if like a guy like Najee's having the off night, then Caleb is someone you could throw into the game. So, again, preaching depth about this roster is really, really important. And I really want to harp on D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell was phenomenal tonight. You could look at the box score and question it, but if you watch the game, you saw how important he's going to be for this Mavericks team. And we actually just we got a quote. Max Christie on Cooper Flagg's preseason debut. His passing was really good. I think he handled pressure really well. He seems like he belonged, as we all know. So that's nice to hear from Max. But back to D'Lo. I think that if you watch the game, you saw what kind of impact he's going to have on this Mavericks roster while Kyrie's out and when Kyrie comes back. He was very, very, very good on both ends of the floor. You know, finished the game with only 5 points, but he had 5 assists, 2 rebounds. He was 1 for 3 from the field, but he was just making the right play after right play. The Mavs offense was very fluid. The ball movement was great, and majority of the time it started with D'Lo. I think it's such a massive bonus that he was able to come onto this roster, already have been playing with Anthony Davis and Max Christie, you know, playing for Frank Vogel before, I believe, and, you know, Phil Handy, Mike Pemberthy, and I think it's just a great fit. I know D'Lo is sort of like a social media meme guy, but I think this fit is really good. I think it's great that he already has that chemistry with AD and Christie, 2 guys who are very, very important to this team. So that's going to be great to see. I think the starting lineup that we saw tonight of D'Lo, Clay, Coop, AD, and Lively is going to be the starting lineup at the beginning of the season. Obviously, things can change, but I posted this on X a few days ago, and I got clowned, but I've heard people say they want Christie to start. I think Clay should start, but I don't see a world where Christie, even if Christie goes off in preseason, Clay was like 2 for 8 tonight, 1 for 5 from 3. I'm not concerned. I don't see a world where Max starts over Clay. That's one of the reasons why he left Golden State, was just the respect standpoint of, I want to be a starter, I want to get the money I deserve and everything like that. So I don't think we see a starting lineup change of what we saw tonight. And I think that's the right move. I don't think they should mess with this lineup whatsoever. I think it's great how it is. I was hoping to see a little bit of AD at the 5, but they were very set on just having AD and D Live play together, which I respect too, because those guys really didn't get much time together last season due to all of the injuries. So I think for them to figure out the spacing and how all of that's going to work is very, very important. You look at the Mavs' upcoming preseason schedule, they're off until, I believe, Saturday. I'm going to double check on that. Yeah, so they don't play till Saturday. They actually play, it's their only AAC game. They play against the Charlotte Hornets, which is going to be fun for Cooper Flagg going up against Con Knipple. And then they go at Utah. Tickets as low as $8 for that game. That's pretty crazy. And then obviously they play in Las Vegas against the Lakers on ESPN next Wednesday. So I'm not sure how it's really going to pan out. I would hope that, these guys are able to play a lot of preseason games. Usually you have a dress rehearsal game or two. That's what majority of NBA teams do. That would be interesting to see the dress rehearsal game be against the Lakers, because it might be a dress rehearsal, but that feels like a real wedding, if that makes sense, just because of all the history that the Mavs and Lakers have now. And so that will be very interesting to see. I think you look at preseason, you got to get this team as many reps as they can get. You look at Anthony Davis, you look at Dereck Lively. Those guys, AD is familiar with playing with another big. He had DeMarcus Cousins in New Orleans. He had JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard in LA when they won the championship. Dereck Lively hasn't done this before, and he's only in year 3. So I think get him very used to the spacing. Obviously, Gafford's out probably until the first game of regular season, if not longer. So I think you just try to get as many reps as possible. Another quote just came out from the game, Cooper Flagg, on what it's like playing with 2 bigs. I think it's interesting. It's a different style of basketball that I haven't played with before, but it just allows me to expand my game, play on the perimeter a lot, and kind of just help the fluidity with AD in me. So, guys, I feel great about how it's been going. I think you look at this roster as a whole, there wasn't that many red flags that stood out to me. I do think it was. Give me a sec, guys. I'm sorry. Shout out Zevia Root Beer. Tap in. Also, shout out to my lady for this hoodie. If you guys have been tuned into the show, you've seen this before, but Elite hoodie. Elite Mavs hoodie she got me. But what I was saying is, one of the red flags that I saw is that the Thunder had 14 offensive rebounds tonight. So in total, they had 43 rebounds. So, sorry guys, I'm not the best mental math person. So 32% of their rebounds were offensive rebounds. And I get that, it's preseason. I get that some of those happen in the second half, but I did see a good chunk of those in the first half as well. So that's something that I want to keep an eye out for. Obviously, when you have that big of an lineup on the floor, you really don't want to have offensive rebounds happening. So I think that's something that the Mavs are going to need to improve on. Jason Kidd brought it up as well, just a second chance points in general. The Mavs had 23 turnovers, not something that I'm too concerned about. You look at the turnover count. Jaden Hardy had 4, Miles Kelly had 3, Matthew Cleveland had 2, Jeremiah Robinson Earl had 3. So, a lot of those came from guys who aren't necessarily rotation players. If you look in the starting lineup, D'Lo had 2, Clay had 1, AD had 1, Najee had 2, PJ had 1. So, not really concerned from that kind of standpoint, but something you want to keep an eye out for. I do think that one thing we're just going to have to really hope about is that the Mavs are going to have to hit threes this year. This is probably going to be a bottom 15 team in the NBA when it comes to three-point percentage, just being realistic. Unless, guys shoot lights out, which I do think there's going to be nights, and there are players on this team that are really good three-point shooters. I mean, you look at Clay, you look at D'Lo. I mean, PJ shot high 30s last year. Coop has the potential to shoot pretty well from three. So, I mean, there are guys that can shoot the ball pretty well, but you look at AD, who's always been a high 20s, low 30s three-point shooter. You look at Najee, who struggled last year. Again, his final year in New Orleans was something that really stood out. He shot the ball very well, but struggled in Dallas last year. So I think Najee can pick it up. But the Mavericks are going to have to fix that. I think Max is someone who can have a really good shooting year as well. Tonight they shot 11 for 35 from three, which is 31% from the field. Again, not judging it too much because some of those came from guys that aren't in the rotation. Some of those did come from guys that are in the rotation. I mean, Clay struggled from three tonight. And I think people are just getting back to basketball rhythm, in-game rhythm. It takes time. It really does. And I think if the Mavericks are able to lock in on that now, it's going to be very beneficial. Again, you look at how they start the season. They have a very, very, very complimentary schedule to start the season. You look, they go home versus San Antonio, home versus Washington, home versus Toronto, home versus OKC, home versus Indiana, and then a neutral site game against Detroit and Mexico City, I believe. So I think you really just need to do everything in your power to win as many games as possible. And it's going to be very important for the Mavs. I think they're able to do it. And we'll see how it all goes. Again, I was really impressed with what they did in this preseason game. Got the 106-89 win. They got Charlotte on Saturday, so they're going to have about 4 or 5 days to rest. I'm sure they'll have some heavy practices in between, but hopefully we're able to get Brandon Williams, Dante, and DSJ and Killen Martin back for that Charlotte game. And we'll see how it goes from there. I'm not sure if Coop, AD, and all of those guys will play in that game. We'll see. Again, usually teams have a dress rehearsal, but they have 2 more games after that Charlotte game. So we'll see how it all goes. Guys, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. We got a Cooper Flagg jersey giveaway. Check it out on my Twitter page. Or X page. It is pinned right now, so be sure to go ahead and check that out on how to enter. Winner will be announced Wednesday, October 8th, I believe at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. I might be off on the time, but all the information's on that post. Again, MFFL Nation, we are undefeated. We're the best team in the league. No one can stop us. I appreciate you guys all for tuning in. Stay tuned for more. Got some special guests coming on here soon. So appreciate you guys. Peace out.